Hello everyone and welcome to your BG24 News Producers Panel. Now, this is the only half an hour where we talk about the campus and community stories and we give some of our own reflections. Now, our reflections do not reflect the way that the organization feels nor how we cover the stories. So without further ado, this is your BG24 News Producers Panel. All right, well, let's go ahead and chat with our panel. Now to my far right, we have Megan Gallagher, a producer, and we have Hannah Hilliard, an anchor, reporter, and producer. And I am Jonathan Kyles, news director for BG24. And special guest tonight is Brooke Ebersol. Now, she is a reporter with BG24, and she has a story we'll talk about in a bit. And on my far left is general manager, anchor, reporter Madeline Fenning. So these are the most involved BG24ers here, so they are great to have, and we are so glad that you're spending extra time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we get started, I want to remind everyone at home that you can be on Facebook and Twitter chatting with us. I'm following your tweets right here. We want to hear what you guys are talking about. So the first story tonight, it is about the Environmental Action Group. Now, EAG went on a trip, but it wasn't like a vacation that we usually would think of. Reporter Madeline Fenning will explain.
Over the past year, the BGSU Environmental Action Group has challenged administration to commit to 100% clean energy by 2020. And while their goal might be ambitious, the fuel that powers the organization got a little stronger over the weekend. Over 20 members of EAG attended PowerShift in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. PowerShift is a biannual social justice conference surrounding environmental issues. Over 7,000 young activists took part in the four-day conference. Environmentalists participated in workshops and trained in grassroots organizing for climate change issues. EAG member Thomas Hoffman says PowerShift left him inspired and motivated.
I saw a movement more diverse than ever before, more inclusive than ever before, more motivated and inspired than ever before. We used that to really refuel our campaign.
College Democrats President Michael Hart traveled to Pittsburgh with EAG to voice their opposition to fracking.
We went down to the county executive's office and protested his choice to frack in public parks. And it was a really cool environment. There was an 11-year-old boy who got up and said, you know, you're destroying our home.
City Council recently passed an ordinance to make fracking within the city limits illegal. But the Ohio Department of Natural Resources says it maintains legal authority to issue all states drilling permits, including cities that pass ordinances to ban drilling.
Knowing that there are so many others like you out there who are fighting for what they believe in and what they know is right is just, it's something amazing to experience, and it really changes your life.
Reporting for BG24 News,
This is what democracy looks like.
I'm Madeline Fenning.
So this is definitely just a puzzle piece of a very large puzzle that involves fracking and the way in which we deal with, I believe it's oil, correct?
It's oil and gas, but I think in the case of this area of the Midwest, it's mostly oil, I believe.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know what I was going to say is Madeline spent a lot of time looking into this and what fracking is. So because yesterday there was a visitor that came, a guest speaker spoke from Penn State, and he talked about the benefits of fracking, and I believe that there were a lot of visitors there. I wasn't able to go, but they were anticipating a bit of a controversy, and so that sort of represents what's happening in Bowling Green as well in terms of fracking, and I think that maybe you have a little more insight on that.
Yeah, I think that probably what I've discovered that was the most surprising wasn't, just the, countless from what I've, believe are harmless, harmful effects of fracking on not just the environment, but the economy and the people in the communities where fracking takes place. But specifically in the case of Bowling Green, we've had city council and then students like EAG, students in EAG and everybody have been so up in arms about fracking recently. And from what I've read, we're actually not in an area that is the best place to frack.
My geology teacher said that too.
Yeah.
She was like, for us geologists, it's kind of odd that we're even talking about this.
Yes.
So
it's just interesting. So, I mean, I think that what a lot of is going on, debate-wise and conversation-wise with city council and with EAG and stuff, they're just trying to, even though this area is not the best area for people who want to frack to get, the benefits that they're looking for. I think they're just mainly doing it just to set an example and to just kind of have the discussion, while it's localized, for in general, that fracking as a whole is a bad idea and that fracking as a whole harms people. But it was really interesting just to see, I mean, EAG, they've been, I'm just so astonished that EAG has come, as far as they have. They've been in student organization for 1 year, and they have, I think like near 100 members who are all very active within the organization, and they went to this protest, this conference that received national attention, and it's usually in DC every other year, and it's a huge deal. And they just, 21 of them, which is, for a student organization to send people out for a weekend randomly, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just to send them out there, they're so active and so involved in it. I have to give it up to them for that.
Yeah, I think no matter where you fall on the whole fracking debate, I think it's really amazing that people are able to put that much time into something they believe in. And I think that is so inspiring.
It's so passionate.
Oh, absolutely.
I did a story on them last year, and it's just amazing to see how far they've come. They were just an organization trying to get some signatures last year, so I definitely think it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue to follow the fracking debate. But what other things have you noticed about, have you been following the Bowling Green city, the charter versus the Ohio State?
It's a little complicated.
It is a little complicated. I know that, specifically in Bowling Green, they did pass an ordinance to ban fracking within the city, but it's something that could be easily overturned.
Exactly.
And it's something that makes the election coming up very important for voters if that is something that they're passionate about, that they need to vote. If that's something they're passionate about, that's something they want to see, change, fracking or not, then they need to vote accordingly, because while the ordinance does ban fracking in Bowling Green, it can be very easily overturned, and that is based on whoever gets elected. And but right now they're in the process, a lot of people are trying to get it worked into the city's charter that it basically would be permanently banned.
Okay, very interesting. We will continue to follow the fracking debate online, and Madeline's story will be online as well for you to take another look at. And when we come back next, we're going to talk about a threatening letter that North Baltimore police have finally found the writer for. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, we reported a couple of weeks ago about a letter that appeared that the superintendent received in North Baltimore schools, that's in Southwood County. And the superintendents, they ended up finding out who it was that sent the letters. And so the letter was a threatening letter, and they finally have put that person, they're in custody. But Hannah and I were talking earlier, and there's a situation in, was it Nevada?
Yep,
Nevada, there was not a similar situation, but it was, I guess, the fear that North Baltimore had came real in Nevada. And so as you all walk around BGSU, as a lot of students here, well, you're all students here, do you feel safe here? Do you feel that there could be something terrible that could happen, like Columbine or anything?
I think that because we live here and it's our daily routine to walk around, campus and, around town and stuff, and we're constantly in new places, be it buildings or areas of the town with new places, with new people, and everything is so new that you would think that people would be a little bit more uneasy about going about their daily lives sometimes in college. But I think also college just stresses so heavily for students to get comfortable and to feel safe and to feel comfortable that I think eventually students kind of become desensitized to possible dangers. But at least here in Bowling Green, I believe it's pretty safe campus.
Well, I think really quick, I'd like to hear from Brooke. Like, you're a freshman this year, and you're a new student here. How do you feel walking around campus? You're young, you're still starting out here. How do you feel?
I definitely think when I came in, they were like, make sure you are prepared, make sure you work with a buddy system, make sure you have something to defend yourself in case anything does happen. But in the course of these, whatever, 9 weeks it's been, I think I have generally felt more and more comfortable. And I don't want to say it's a false sense of comfort, but you never want to be too comfortable where something happens to you and it happens to be the time that you aren't prepared and that you didn't go with a buddy and you walked by yourself and you regret it. And it's sad that, we live in, it's not a small town, but it is not, we're not on a huge campus, and a lot of towns around Bowling Green are small. And, you tend to think, I think, about small towns that they're all safe and everybody knows each other and nobody would ever try and harm another citizen of that town. And I think it's sad that the day and age that we live in, that's not true anymore.
Right, it is really upsetting.
And don't you think that the students walking into the Nevada school or into Newtown or into Virginia Tech, they all felt pretty safe and comfortable, and those parents probably felt pretty safe and comfortable allowing them to go to this school. So I mean, it's one thing to talk about feeling safe on Bowling Green's campus, but it's also, it's never out of the realm of possibility, no matter how safe it is.
I remember it was actually my freshman year, which is crazy to think it was 2 years ago already, but there was a Chardon shooting, and my city that I am from is literally a city over from Chardon, and I remember turning on the Today Show, I watched it every morning, and so it's just like something that I turn on and I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happening around the world, and then there was a school shooting somewhere right next door to where I live, and you don't expect anything like that to ever happen to you, and then you see something that is close to home, and you think wow, because my brother was still in high school at that point, and I was like, I could not imagine waking up one day and finding out that my brother could possibly be injured, and my best friend's brother's girlfriend's brother went to that school. So you do know about connections and things, and like she said, the buddy system is always important. It's always important to be as safe as you can, but sometimes that doesn't really help because, like you said, they thought they were safe, and I thought I was safe until something like that happens, and it kind of brings you back to reality.
You know what I think is something to remember is that in a lot of cases with school shootings or even threats of school violence, it's not in an area that is typically considered violent, or it's not in a particularly crime-heavy location. It's just, and if you look at the people who commit these crimes and do these things, they aren't people who a lot of times you would have thought would have done these things. So sometimes there's absolutely no way you could ever possibly prepare.
Yeah, but there's got to be certain things you can do, and I think that's what a lot of different people will say. I mean, I agree with what you were saying about you can't do you feel safe at BG? Well, no, I don't feel safe. Well, yeah, I feel safe. Doesn't really matter. Not really. I mean, things happen in random places, and I agree there might be a trend, but I mean, you're right. I mean, you wouldn't expect these things. So what can we do as a school as you walk around your classes? Is there anything you cannot prevent everything? That is very clear. But is there things that you think that BG should be doing? Yeah.
I don't know if it's BG itself. It's people, individual people. You know, all these okay, it's hard to typecast all the mass shootings, but they're bullied and they don't have a lot of friends. They're antisocial and all that stuff. And you just have to, if we start teaching kids at a young age that they have to mindfully be respectful of every single person, no matter what, then you're gonna, at least, in my opinion, you would maybe avoid one incident.
Yeah. And I think you can never be too careful. If something kind of sets off a red flag in your head, that's when you want to take an action. That's when you want to tell someone, or tell someone who's in charge that you don't feel safe, because if something does happen and you didn't say anything, then what are you left to do?
Well, what is it that you do if you are sitting in class and you do notice that there's a student who might be, especially, and the thing is, in college, you don't have a principal you can run to tell that someone's being bullied. You don't. I mean, there's really nothing you can do. The only thing you can really do is go up to the bully or the bully and say, hey, stop that. But that's not going to stop them sometimes. So it's kind of you just have to remember that there's ways to have good action plans for evacuation, for protection, and obviously stressing mental health and things like that is great, but you just got to be careful.
Yeah. We're going to remind all the BGSU students out there that you can get on to My BGSU and check out Alert BG. It's a good thing to have. So when we come back, we're going to talk about something a little more fun. It is about an old school tradition, the Battle of I-75. We'll be right back. So when you think of the Battle of I-75, you might not think about what we're about to talk about here. Reporter Brooke Ebersol took a look at what just surrounded a rock. Take a look.
By day, it is quiet around BGSU's Spirit Rock, but by night, it is a different scene. BGSU groups are spending nights by the rock to prevent possible retaliation from the University of Toledo. That's because last week, Falcon fanatics went to UT and decked out their rock in orange and brown.
And we're kind of worried that, they might come down here and paint our rock, so we want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Even on the coldest of nights, students at BG camp out here to protect what is rightfully theirs. Lookout groups range from Chi Omega to the Black Student Union. Falcon Fanatics president Luke Zirkle has happily been at the rock every night this week.
I mean, this is all about school spirit. We love our school. We want to make sure that we show the team up north that, we got a lot of school spirit, and we want to take it to them this weekend. So it's all about, repping the BGSU and making sure that this rock's protected.
To keep busy, rock protectors are playing cornhole, throwing frisbee, and even adding designs to the Spirit Rock. BGSU Athletics Director Chris Kingston even made an appearance and bought hot chocolate for the students. Kingston says he was happy to be there showing his spirit.
I'm inspired by the students at BG, especially what the guys and gals are doing with the Falcon Fanatics, and being out here, it's just school pride, and that's why we're all here, right?
Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Brooke Ebersole.
Well, Brooke, did you get every single, when you were doing that, did you get the whole 4?
No, and I'm so OCD about those kinds of things.
Well,
Thank you for leaving our mark.
Yeah.
Left our mark there. Well, yeah, I think this is so intriguing. Again, like I always talk about things like I feel like sometimes I'm a fly on the wall in college because I don't know, I don't love sports, I don't love all that stuff, and I don't get super pumped up about stuff, but it is really neat to see some people getting so excited about that. And one of the things that's really interesting is you said that yesterday Toledo made it down here.
Yes, they did. Toledo came down.
Yeah.
I think during a time when the Falcon Fanatics weren't out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
We were
I
getting
heard
conflicting
from a Falcon
reports.
fanatic
Conflicting
that
reports.
Toledo came down at 4 a.m. Thursday night and brought tar, brought feathers, brought paint for the rock, and made their mark.
Feathers.
Yeah, tar and feathers.
Is this 1794?
Right.
I understand.
well,
The year of tar and feathers?
yeah,
I think that's around the time.
Hey, I think that makes sense because we're Falcons, so
exactly-
hey.
I know.
Nice job, Toledo. That was very relevant. Very relevant, Megan says. One of the things that I thought we should talk about is when Hannah was talking about, and we want to bring you guys in on what we do at BG24 and sort of give you a behind the scenes look. And we were talking about the, I want to make sure I say it right, the
Tuck
Tuck-Felido. So there's a Tuck-Felido thing on the rock, and what we were talking about was if we should air that or not. And we decided to do it, and let me tell you why. We decided to do it because it's on every t-shirt. They have it on hundreds of t-shirts that are printed. Little kids, it comes in like a child extra small. So do you think that this is like just fun and games, or do you think you could see a potential kind of like, that's a little inappropriate?
It's college.
And sports especially. I mean, people get so into it, and when people are very spirited and they, are making promotional gear and this and that and everything with sports, there's so much passion and there's so much energy behind it that people, they rarely apologize for things like that. It's only in cases like with, I think I know with certain universities with, what was the university where there's a big coaching?
Penn State?
Yes, Penn State.
Yeah.
There were some inappropriate shirts that were made by Ohio State, actually.
That's right.
And
What was the shirts?
they said
Shouldn't talk about them.
they were reflecting the issues that he had with inappropriate relationships with people, and they kind of played up on that with shirts, and that was something that they did receive a lot of backlash for. But how crazy is it that it takes it escalating to that point for anyone to even turn around and say, it's kind of inappropriate.
Yeah. So where are you going too far? Is the question.
I think everyone swears nowadays.
That's so true. It is.
But when you like kind of direct it towards a certain person and then the action that they committed, which wasn't an illegal action, I think that kind of draws the line.
Or when it's
I think it's all in good
It
spirit,
hurts them.
I think that it's all about a football game. It's all, and at the end of the day, we're all generally from the same area of Ohio, and I don't think that anybody has malicious intentions,
Yeah, if you're in an organization or even BG24, it's like if we had some sort of rivalry, student news station at Toledo, which I don't even know if they have one, but if we were to have a rivalry with them and they were to have a shirt that said Tuck, Well, I'm not going to try to make that thing, because I will mess it up.
Right. Well,
Tell me you would not buy a keychain or something that said that.
I know you like to talk about this all day, but we have to go to a break. We'll be right back, all right? Take care. We'll be right back. All right, I'm so excited about this. Now, I love being scared ever since I was a little kid, and I'm ready to be scared again as an adult. Reporter Hannah Hilliard will show us some scary place in Wood County right here. Take a look.
Wood County's museum was once an old hospital back in 1868, and it has the ghost stories to prove it. Daniel Gill has been a tour guide for Folklore Fridays at the infirmary for the past 3 years.
I love folklore. I love where our history comes from. I love getting to share the information and share the stories.
Guides take visitors through the old infirmary, the lunatic asylum, and the cemetery. Marketing coordinator Kelly Kling says the stories have been passed down throughout the years.
Storytellers give accounts of tales that have been handed down to us from other staff members or visitors about unexplained occurrences that happened inside the building.
During the tour, Gill tells the story of a volunteer who was working one day when she felt someone looking at her.
She turned around, and chained to a radiator was this old man with scraggly long hair and these dirty, gnarly fingernails. And he looked at her, and he stood up, and he started coming towards her. And then he flashed out of existence.
Staff claim they have seen him multiple times, but at first there was never a patient to fit this description. They did some investigating and later found out that there was a man here back in the 1800s who was chained up to a radiator. Kling says she has never seen a ghost before, but she loves the story of Bert Gifford. He was a patient at the infirmary who would wheel a wagon around.
Sometimes at night, people claim that they can hear the squeaking of those metal wagon wheels.
Nearly 200 guests and 20 to 30 volunteers filed through the grounds Friday, hoping to see some of this paranormal activity.
I'm a semi-believer. I've never seen any proof of anything. I've had people get kind of freaked out on the tours, but I don't know whether it's because they're letting their imagination run wild and I can tell stories very well, or if they actually feel anything.
Gill says he wants to provide information so guests can make their own opinions about paranormal activity. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Hannah Hilliard.
Look at that creepy moonlight. Very smart. Yeah, I think that guy's probably just really good at telling ghost stories.
Oh my gosh, I've never been to that place before, but that guy made it sound so creepy. I can't even get over how.
And then he goes, and then he goes.
It was that pause that he held.
He
He held that pause in the package, and he's like, and you're sitting there, you're just on the edge of your seat.
Like,
It just goes away. Flashes out.
This is just public access. I don't know what's happening.
And I swear, okay, everyone's telling me it was a lens flare, but I swear there was a little green thing in one of the videos I had. In one of the shots I got, I swear.
I love that it was the journalism student that was just like, it's a ghost, and it's the TCOM students that are like, it's a lens flare.
What's happening? Is that John Tortorella?
Yeah.
Wow, thanks for ruining all of our fun.
Yeah, I swear it was a ghost.
Do you believe in ghosts though? Like when I went with Hannah to the Historical Society to shoot this, and I was freaking out, but Hannah was very calm. I mean, were you like?
I think I was so wrapped up in like getting shots and getting the interviews and stuff that I wasn't really paying attention to the stories that were being told. But the one guy who saw us out there shooting and he started talking to us, and he told us a ghost story. He used to work as a pharmacist back in the 60s and 70s, and him and a buddy were delivering medicine to the infirmary one night. And they were walking down this hallway, and they saw this woman standing there. So they walked by, and she nodded. She didn't say anything to them. And they turn around once they get past her, and she's gone. Completely gone. So then they go upstairs to the nurse's station, and they're like, that's impossible. There's no one that fits that description. And it's just impossible that any of our patients could be down on that floor. It was so creepy. Madeline was freaking out.
The whole time.
That is perfect.
That's just bizarre.
That didn't make the package, but.
I mean,
Extenders.
I think what's interesting is that there's a lot of places on campus that people think are haunted, like the old buildings like University Hall and Hannah Hall and stuff like that. I mean, have you ever been into any of those buildings?
No, but as a freshman, I live in a dorm, and I know my RA puts up all these posters and all these stories of the whatever used to be Prout Hall. I'm not sure what it is now, but Prout Hall.
We have Prout Chapel.
That might have burnt down. Yeah, I don't know, but I know they talk about Alice Prout haunts a building, and I know there's a sorority ghost. And I'm not.
Yep, I actually lived in that house.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did.
I actually did a story for the newspaper about that a couple years ago, and like, there's a lot of creepy stuff. Like, Cole Hall has a ghost named Andy on the 3rd floor, and there.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
you guys do know that we have a cemetery in the middle of it.
Stop.
Yeah, we always talk about the buildings. We forget the fact that we have a large amount of dead bodies buried by Old Campbell.
Oh my gosh, you guys, please.
Maybe I shouldn't say that.
I'm the kind of girl that's like, yeah, scary movies, yeah, like I go to bed and have no nightmares, but if something happens to me in real life, I'm out. That is
Out of your life?
That is not, like, and I remember, this is like a funny story, a little lighter note. When I toured here, I was like, oh, there's a cemetery in the middle of this university, and I remember asking my tour guide, like, so like, do you guys like do anything with that for Halloween? And the guy's like, no. No, like, why would you ask such a silly thing? I was like, why do you have a cemetery in the middle of your campus?
Well, it was actually built before the university.
Right,
The
Christine had
cemetery.
did a story about
okay,
that
yeah,
last
the
year. It's
cemetery was
online,
here
yeah.
before
Well,
campus
they should
was.
use it because it would be really interesting and fun.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like ghosts and they like to like play into that, but like I don't know what scares me more. I don't know if like the idea of like haunted spirits and ghosts scare me, or if it's the idea of like real things, like intruders.
We have 1 minute. Do you guys think that we will become ghosts? Life question.
Honestly, okay, I don't believe in ghosts. I do not think that they are real. They're not real. They're not real. But I'm terrified of them. And I think what terrifies me the most is to think that if you were, this is so existential right now, if you were to die and become a ghost, it's like, why? That would be the worst type of existence.
Yeah, so you can't talk to anyone. And they're all right there, and you're like,
could you
hello?
talk to other ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if
I'm a people person. I need other people to talk to.
Warm.
So just so you know, after
Casper was pretty cool.
after we all die, we're all gonna do this. So tune in.
Use your ghost antennas to watch. Your ghost via like HBO. Isn't that creative? That's very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the producers panel tonight. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you, and we enjoyed everybody here as well. Make sure you tune in to BG24 for news next week. We have a lot of cool stuff happening. Monday has an action-packed sports show, and we also have a lot of news programming and the Wednesday show. So keep up with us on all of these things, social media, Facebook, Twitter. We would love to interact with you, and that's all we got. So thank you so much for being here. Have a safe, wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Go Falcons.
Go Falcons.
Go Falcons.